Welcome to the 53rd reading of my memoir, The Innocence of Guilt. Queen Victoria House. One of my last close times with my grandfather, Din Din, came prior to my departure. He took me to a jeweller's in the High Street to buy me a watch. He wanted to buy me an expensive one, but I insisted on something less costly. I didn't want him spending his money on me, forgetting that he'd been doing it for most of my life. I saw the sadness on his face when I picked out the plain watch, and he said, "Is that all it costs? Can't I buy you a better one?" Much later on, I realized how I'd cheated him of something he had in his heart for me to do. I never thought at the time how it must have been for him, seeing me leave home, wondering if he would ever see his granddaughter again, how he must have suffered, watching the turmoil I caused in the family over the years, and yet he never stopped loving me. He never stopped believing in me. If only I could have honored his feelings by loving and believing in myself. In the first week of September, I prepared to leave for London. Dad ordered a taxi to take me to North Street Station, but I don't recall him being there to wave me goodbye. He may have left for the factory, or perhaps I deliberately withdrew from him. I carried everything I needed in the small brown cardboard suitcase he'd given me from the days of his youth. Although inwardly grateful for these gestures, I couldn't help but remember the cruel statement he'd flung at me during an argument, a stab wound to my heart. "You mark my words, even if you do get into that course up in London, you'll never make it on your own. You'll come crawling back on your hands and knees, begging for help." His words had a ring of prophecy to them. He knew my weaknesses as I knew his, but I vowed to never give him the satisfaction of gloating over any problems I might have. As I waited for the taxi, Mum reminded me of the perils of going to London. "The streets may be paved with gold, but there are pickpockets standing on every corner, waiting to snatch your handbag and run off with it, dear, so hold it close to you all the time." "Don't worry, Mum," I said. "I'll be all right." She'd been worrying for days, whether I had everything I needed, whether I'd get to my destination in one piece, and made me promise to write as soon as I settled in. Brian promised to be on the station platform to see me off. True to his word, he stood there, munching on Spam sandwiches for his lunch, having rushed on his bike from Pertwee's, the apple packing factory where he worked during the summer break, so as not to miss me. Excited to be at last on my way, but sorry to say goodbye to him. It would be 4 long weeks before I saw him again. We promised to write. I waved madly out the carriage window until it turned the bend, and he disappeared from sight. Mum's well-meaning but over-cautious words compelled me to clutch my handbag close while keeping my eyes on the suitcase deposited up on the luggage rack, all the way to Liverpool Street Station, an hour's journey, after which I travelled on the Tube, Central Line, to Barkingside. A bus took me to the main gates of the village home. Soon I found myself inside Queen Victoria House, a large building where I would live and train for the next 2 months. Dr. Thomas John Bernardo built the village home in 1872 for destitute, homeless girls. A mixed home when I arrived, not for orphans anymore, but for children forcibly removed from their parents. Broken homes, poverty, abuse, neglect were what brought them to the gates. The village home consisted of roughly 60 Victorian cottages, many named after flowers and other types of plants, the others named after famous people and places. A handicapped children's unit, 2 nursery units, school, church, hospital, laundry, clothing store, and numerous administration buildings, all set amidst 60 acres of pathways, 3 grassy greens, flower beds and trees. Self-contained, but with outside connections, being a charitable organisation. In the dorm, I unpacked my Bible and a devotional book Brian gave me for a going-away present. As well as clothes and personal items, a wooden serviette ring and 2 short-sleeved, buttoned-up nylon pinafores were all I'd been asked to bring. Mum had remarked, with a slight upturn of her nose, that I must be moving up in the world if a requirement for the course was a serviette ring. The 20 girls taking the course with me came from all parts of England and farther afield, comprising many different ethnic backgrounds. Pleasant girls from good families who shared their various ways of life, the many diverse paths they trod before they came to Barnardo's. Soon moved out of the dorm, which served as a receiving area, we were designated double rooms with bunk beds. Although I got along with most of the girls in a superficial manner, only one became a close friend. The romantic notions I brought with me concerning the care of children soon evaporated when I realized what I had to learn in order to qualify for that privilege. The course reminded me of the despised domestic science class at Wilson Marriage School. I found myself taken right back to what I had sarcastically dubbed the science of scrubbing tables and draining boards. The pinafores came into their own as I plunged into the endless chores, planning and cooking meals in the huge kitchen, washing dishes, cleaning bathrooms, polishing furniture and silver, scrubbing and polishing floors, washing and ironing clothes, and laying dining tables the size of large medieval banquet tables seen in period films. My serviette ring holding a cloth serviette marking my place. I excelled at nothing except the ironing, my childhood favourite chore. Tutors meticulously checked everything. Teamwork had always been a difficult concept for me to grasp, and many a time I let my teammates down by not working fast enough. Frustration with me grew as I held up progress in general. On my hands and knees one day with a brush and bucket of soapy water, re-scrubbing a floor to meet the tutor's high standard. Tears filled my eyes as I recalled my father's words. Not crawling home, but close. All the other girls off duty, lounging in the common room, in their bedrooms, writing letters home, reading or chatting. I wanted to give up right there and then, but my pride wouldn't let me. I'll never go back. No matter how bad things get, I can't let him know that his words were true. Only the beginning of my troubles. I did well in the theory classes and loved the debates and discussions, my biggest disappointment being in the spiritual side of things. Faith had led me to Barnardo's, but it wasn't the Christian organization I imagined it to be. Nobody seemed to embrace God in a personal sense, or if they did, they didn't talk about it. My spiritual life and my practical life were no longer one. No idea how to blend the two together, so I suffered a distinct sense of being marooned on 2 separate islands, my mirror images staring at each other across an expanse of water too deep to negotiate. Thank you for listening. Please feel free to subscribe, like, or comment on this reading, and hopefully you will tune in to the next one. Bye for now.